what was the connection with the Yankees in terms of getting this job as bench coach?
I mean, there was no deep-seated connection. I've known Cash for decades. You know, when I was with the Yankees in my first big league camp as a player, was, I believe, Cash's first year as a full-time employee before he became the general manager and president of baseball operations. So I've known Cash for a long time. I've known Booney for a long time. We were both in the National League Central. He was with the Reds. I was with the Astros for years. I've told this story a few times. We used to have an annual Christmas holiday party here at our house in the San Diego area, and he and his wife actually came to one of those parties quite a few years back. But I've known Booney for years.
When you look at a manager like Aaron Boone or any manager, Brad, there are so many decisions that have to be made during a game. What do you think are the best attributes of a bench coach in helping that manager make those decisions?
Well, I think first of all, he's got to be honest. He's going to have to tell the manager exactly what he thinks, whether the manager agrees with him or not. But he's got to be honest. He's got to keep the manager prepared, make sure he's aware of possible moves that could be forthcoming. He's got to be a conduit between the players and the manager's office. Sometimes soften blows, sometimes be more direct. I think those are probably the two biggest things for a bench coach.
I know it's a little hard to do right now in the offseason, but how important is it for you to start building relationships with the players and the staff? I mean, you've got to know how to read people and give input to Aaron Boone.
Well, the staff side of it has already happened. We've had multiple calls and or video chats regarding preparation for spring training, kind of getting me indoctrinated with what they have in their system, in their database, familiarizing it with me, teaching me how to navigate it. So that is in full swing. As far as the players, I think that probably starts more after the new year as we get closer to spring training. You can talk to a player on the phone, but you don't really get to know a player until you interact with them face to face. And you really get to know them when you get into the season, and then things might get a little tough.
Brad, during your introductory Zoom press conference with the New York media, you said that you believed in analytics about 85% of the time, but you also made a point of saying that you want to make sure you use your eyes as well. How do you navigate that in making decisions or in giving advice to Aaron Boone as he's making decisions?
Well, I do. And I did say this in that presser. I use data even as a catcher preparing for the opposing lineups. For 10 years with the Houston Astros, I solely prepared the pitching scouting reports for our staff against the opposing lineups. And I found that the data was right the vast majority of the time. But when I'm sitting in that catcher's box, you also happen to notice things with your eyes, whether the batter moved in the box, or maybe he's not swinging the same, or the pitcher's stuff isn't the same. And that's when you have to make an adjustment from what you've read on a piece of paper or a computer screen. I think the same thing applies with analytics. I think they're going to lead you in the right direction the vast majority of the time, and the odds are going to be in your favor if you follow them the vast majority of the time. But sometimes you have to trust your eyes.
I'm glad you brought up the vantage point of being behind home plate, because the catcher sees everything on the field happening in real time. He's involved deeply in the game planning and how to approach batters. And, of course, we work with John Flaherty, who constantly reminds us that the smartest people in baseball are catchers, obviously. So does all of that knowledge that you gained, how does that translate to you being a good coach or a good manager?
I think the one thing that catchers learn because of the position, because of the role, is they learn, one, how difficult it is to be an everyday player, to play 135 to 145 games, just the physical and mental toll that it takes to be prepared. That being said, as a catcher, you're also dealing with pitchers on not only a regular basis, but you're dealing with pitchers more than you're dealing with other position players. So you get kind of some insight into their psyche, how they feel, how they think. They often trust you with questions or when they're searching for advice. I just think the catching position gives you two perspectives that you probably don't get at any other position on the field.
Brad, because of being in the major leagues for 18 years and then being a coach and a manager, you have sat in on hundreds of those game planning meetings. How do you envision that teams will have those meetings this year when they have to deal with Soto and Judge back-to-back? I know they're on your team, but what do you think it'll be like for teams who are trying to conquer those two giants in the lineup?
I'd like to think it's going to be a matter of them having to pick their poison. You know, you hope you have them against the ropes and they don't have that go-to ace reliever that is sitting in the pen. But even if they do, that ace reliever can't generally throw right-handed and left-handed. So it's a task for any pitcher to get through those two. And I certainly expect them to be huge offensive players in this lineup. But make no mistake, when you have a lineup like this with two big guys, you need other guys in the lineup. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are not going to get hits and drive-in runs every single game, and you need people around them to do that. They might not do it as often. They might not do it with as much thump, but they need to do it.
Brad, you had a career to be very proud of, top 10 catching-wise all time in some statistical areas. The Yankees lost you in the expansion draft. Even though you went on to have an impressive career, did you ever allow yourself to dream about what might have happened if you stayed in the Yankee organization? Because we know what happened with them in the 90s, 4 World Series in 5 seasons. Did you ever allow yourself to fantasize about what might have happened if you remained a Yankee?
Well, I probably would have been traded so they could bring up Posada.
Honest answer. It's an honest answer.
No doubt about it. Hey, a final quick question. You were born in New Haven, Connecticut. Do you still have family ties there? Were they or are they Yankees fans? And does it feel like you're sort of coming home in a way?
So my sister and her kids are still in my hometown in Connecticut. My parents have both passed away in the last, my dad a couple years ago, my mom 7.5 years ago. And we were on that line in Connecticut where it was either Yankees fans or Red Sox fans. And there was a smattering of Mets fans, but it was mostly Yankee, Red Sox. And, I shouldn't be saying this, but my mom was from Brookline, Massachusetts, and she kind of raised me a Red Sox fan.
You can say that. That's not the first time we would have heard that. And by the way, you were right on the Hatfield-McCoy line right there. You're right in terms of, do you root for the Red Sox or Yankees?
We were, and I was a Red Sox fan growing up all the way through high school, and then was drafted by the Yankees out of high school and immediately changed allegiances. And then you mentioned the draft. So I was with the Yankees in the minor leagues for 5.5 years, all the way up to Columbus, when that was where their AAA team was, and played with a bunch of guys there that ended up being big parts of the Yankees' success, including guys like Bernie Williams, JT Snow, who was traded. We had a very good team in Columbus. But when I was taken in the expansion draft that winter following the 92 season, my jaw hit the floor. I thought for sure I was going to be a Yankee for life. But, with watching ESPN, watching the expansion draft on ESPN, you immediately take a hard right, and I'm no longer a Yankee. All of a sudden, I'm a Colorado Rocky, and there was only about 25 players at that point in their whole organization.
Yeah, it's a reminder of how lives can change real quickly in baseball. But, Brad, you've now opened this Pandora's box when you've talked about family allegiances with sports teams. I have to ask, your sister, Yankees, Red Sox, and if it was Red Sox, I'm imagining it's now Yankees? We need the 411 on that.
She is very much a fair weather fan. She roots for whatever team I'm with.
That makes perfect sense, honestly. You got to keep those family ties strong, which I'm sure you will over the holidays and the new year. Brad, we're going to let you go. We wish the best for you and your family. Look forward to seeing you in Tampa.
Sounds great. Have a good holiday, guys.